Yorgos Lanthimos has reteamed with Definite Human Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons for a remake of Korean film's Save the Green Planet. The original is so weird and unique that we're excited to see how they've translated it. So join us for Bugonia. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
Hi, come in peace.
This is a science fiction movie podcast. We get together and talk about a sci-fi movie, and today we're looking at Bugonia, the new film from Yorgos Lanthimos, which is a remake of a Korean film from 2003 called Save the Green Planet, which we reviewed a few weeks ago, so you can go and check out that review at your leisure. And it's going to be interesting talking about this because it is very much another version of that same story, so there are definitely going to be some comparisons made, and you know, a lot of our discussion, especially in spoilers, I think we'll definitely get into kind of how we feel about the changes that have been made or the lack of changes in some cases. So we'll get into all that stuff in a bit later, but of course we will start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please do hit the like button. Helps out a bunch if you do, and of course you can give us 5 stars in your podcast app. If you want to support the show, you can do that over Patreon or via YouTube membership and get bonus stuff, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So yeah, Bugonia. I will say, as a fan of Save the Green Planet, the thought of a remake would never have really been that appealing to me. However, I will say that Yorgos here, when they announced that he was doing a remake, I did kind of stop and pause and go, you know, of all the directors you could pick to do a version of this story, he's actually not a bad choice based on the things I'd seen from him before. So, relatively speaking, I was getting into this with a fairly open mind.
Outside of having like a complete industry outsider, because obviously Yorgos is, you know, not major blockbuster cred, but he is definitely more of an indie darling. I think that he's the one that I think could handle the weirdness that is required. Just off the top of my head, you know, outside of getting someone like, I don't know, a Tarantino, but that would be a completely different view on things entirely.
Different movie.
Yeah,
for sure. So if you wonder what the premise of this is, the characters in this are Teddy and Dawn. Teddy being someone who, played by Jesse Plemons, who believes that the head of this company, played by Emma Stone, her name is Michelle, although I have to admit, I don't know if I ever caught the name Michelle the entirety of that movie. She was the person, she was the supposed alien, which is the premise of the movie, is that Jesse Plemons believes that Emma Stone is an alien, and he kidnaps her with the intent of making her admit that she is an alien and that she's here on a scouting mission to destroy humanity. That is the basic gist of it, and that was the basic gist of the original movie, except it wasn't Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone, obviously. But you know, that's the same basic setup, and yeah, we'll get into things. So you just saw Save the Green Planet for the first time when we did it on the show a few weeks ago.
Yes, correct. And I mean, I spoke very positively of it. I think it was a very well-made film. It had a lot to say, so I definitely liked it. I will say that having it so recently in my head definitely impacted how I watched this movie, because I was more so just kind of waiting to see, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? How's it changed in that sort of way? So as much as, you know, I'm going to try to view this movie objectively, or as objectively as movie criticism really can be, there is going to be a comparison there that's always going to be present of how did it do compared against Save the Green Planet.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why I was always wary of the idea of a remake, which I mean I tend to be anyway for any good foreign movie where someone comes in and says we're going to remake that in English because, you know, the audiences. But it's not like this was turned into a blockbuster. This is not turned into something that the mainstream audience is going to see. This is still pretty much a cinema lover art house type quirky movie. So it's not, you know, it's kind of an interesting one to do in this fashion. And I think the reason why I'd be so apprehensive about it is that Save the Green Planet's tone is so unique and it bounces between different tones so effortlessly. I think my title for the review on YouTube was something like this movie's zany, dark, emotional, and quirky. Like I put in like 4 or 5 different words to describe it because they all felt like they needed to be there. And when I look at this remake, as we're getting into our sort of general thoughts here, I do think there's 1 or 2 of those words that aren't there anymore. And it's not because it necessarily fails to do something, but there's definitely like a refocus of like, no, we're not going to do that part of it. We're just going to double down on this other part of it. That's definitely like the first thing I would say about this is that that emotional part, I don't think this one's emotional. I don't think this one even tries to, because I think one of the interesting things about Savage Green Planet is that despite what the main character's doing, and despite the fact that he might be absolutely crazy, he's still kind of likable and endearing, and you're still questioning, do I root for him? I don't know if Jesse Plemons' character ever has that in this film, and I don't think they were trying to give him that in this film, to be fair. So it's not a complaint, but it's definitely one of my first observations, even right at the start of the movie. I was like, okay, they're going for something a little bit different with this main character.
Yeah, the original one had a lot more of you could root for the guy. I think this one is a lot more of you have seen this guy before. It's letting you really say, no, this is somebody that you know about. This is somebody that you have maybe crossed paths with in the past. And in that way, it lets you relate to him in a way that you relate to however you would relate to that person in real life. But it doesn't make you root for him as much. It doesn't make him a sympathetic character.
No, and one of my, I had several questions in my head as I was going through the movie thinking, are they going to do this near the end? Are they going to do this bit near the end? And we'll get into that obviously more in depth in spoilers, but I will say, I think I was expecting more changes than there actually were. And maybe that's because things felt so different early on that I was expected to go a different direction in the third act. And again, I'm not even saying that as a positive or a negative yet. Like, I'm not even giving my feelings on the movie yet. I'm just sort of saying the comparison points here up front in the vaguest possible ways.
For me, it feels like it definitely focused in on a few things. Whereas, like you said, the original one is so many different things all at once. This feels a lot more focused, not only in tone, but also in the message specifically it's trying to get across. Because I felt the last one, you could make some judgment calls, you could say specific things, but it did feel kind of like a catch-all of aliens are coming, what are they here for? And it's a bunch of different stuff. This one feels like it's laser focused specifically on one aspect of society nowadays, and that's, again, it's not good or bad whether or not it's more focused or less focused, but it does feel like there is that shift in it. That's the biggest thing I felt when we hit the end, is that it felt like it had something more definitive to say.
So I guess without further dancing around it then, David, how did you feel about Bugonia?
Overall, I think I did. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it as an experience. I think it was a very well-made movie. I think I like Save the Green Planet just a little more. If I'm just getting the comparison out, I think that what you were talking about, the tone, and without saying specifically what it gained or lost, what it specifically lost a little bit in the tone-wise, I was missing that. The whole way through, I was kind of missing that aspect of it. I do like what it focuses in on. I think that it has something to say here. It's not a remake that's made just for the sake of remaking it. It feels like they wanted to specifically say something that this movie structure would allow them to say. But for me, it's a well-made movie, but I don't think that it quite scratches the same itch that the original one did. It does have its positives. I think acting-wise, honestly, all 3 leads, the cousin Don doesn't quite get as much of a limelight as the main 2 of Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, but I think all 3 of them do a great job of getting their characters across, really establishing this feel of the movie. There was a little bit towards the beginning that I was a little shaky on Emma Stone. I wasn't quite engaging with her character, but as the movie progressed, it did a lot better at getting me on that side. So yeah, it's a well-made movie. I really don't have much bad in the way of criticisms on its own. It's all going to be in comparison to Save the Green Planet.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Save the Green Planet, within a year or 2 of it coming out originally. right? So I've had that movie in my head for 20 plus years. So it is kind of weird getting into this, but I think, what I'll say up front is that the cinematography and like the visual look of this movie is probably a clear win. If I'm putting two columns and I'm saying what's in the win column for this and what's in the win column for Save the Green Planet, I think cinematography, this one wins. It's a beautiful movie. David, did you happen to notice the aspect ratio that the movie was in?
God damn it, I actually did, and I did only because I was like, that's weird. It's not taking up all of my movie screen. I should comment on that at some point of me actually noticing this for once.
I'm trying to think how many 4:3 movies I've seen on the big screen. Because it's not many. There's not a lot that come out in 4:3 in our lifetimes. So very curious to how many that is. But so it's got this sort of very specific visual style that it goes for. Lots of wide shots, lots of wide kind of simple shots, but they're all very beautiful. There's a lot of good kind of, Emma Stone works at this fancy company. When it's like cutting between her and like where Jesse Plemons lives, one's a bit more messy and it's more surrounded by nature. Emma Stone's workplace is all very symmetrical. It's all very straight lines. Even like the gardens outside, which are technically nature, they're all very neatly cut into rectangles. It's all very, organized in this way that's very different to Teddy's life, Jesse Plemons' character. So I think visuals, I think this one wins. But I think that it's more nail biting. I think it puts you on edge a lot more right from the get go. It definitely presents it as more of a thriller through and through, as opposed to Save the Green Planet, which is a bit more back and forth. But having said that, that emotional side that's in Save the Green Planet is kind of special, especially since it pulls it off in such a weird plot to pull that off in. So by the end of the movie in Save the Green Planet, there's a couple of standout sequences where you're like, I'm really emotionally invested as this water's coming down and I care about what the main character's doing. This fight he's in, I don't want to get into too much in detail, but that stuff is so good and there's no equivalent in this in any way, shape or form. So they both have their pros and like maybe wins over each other. And I do think the cinematography and the more technical qualities probably do win in this one. But I think there's like a wonderful heart to that Save the Green Planet that I think this one is definitely lacking. So it depends what you're looking for, I guess, more than anything else. But they're definitely different beasts, and that's the nicest thing I can say about it, really, I suppose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's kind of weird to me because when I look at it, it's kind of trimming off on both ends of the spectrum there, where the Save the Green Planet I felt had a lot more, I won't say out and out comedy, but like dark comedy. It had some moments that were funny for the sake of just how crazy they were or anything like that. And Bugonia does have a couple of those moments, but it's so trimmed back. It is so much smaller in aspect of story. So then you would think that on the opposite side, the more like, I'm going to say brutal. Brutal is going to be the word I use here. Of those moments would be more, but actually it feels like it's lesser on that end as well. It doesn't feel like it goes as all in on the brutal moments. What it instead has and what it fills time with is, as you said, that intensity. It really builds up the suspense and like these, they keep on saying throughout the movie of like, we have to talk. And that's most of what their interactions are here, is just this back and forth talking, trying to establish like what's actually true, what's not, who knows what about the other person. And while that is present in Save the Green Planet, it is punctuated and filled throughout of scenes of like borderline body horror moments and like, again, those comedic beats, those moments where it's like, oh, let's follow the girlfriend as she goes off to the circus and is an acrobat for a while. Like, it's weird things like that that are trimmed out as well. So it's very different, but I think that's kind of part of the soul that's missing for me. I think that's something that made that one so special, is the outlandishness of it.
Yeah. The only thing I'll disagree with there is you're saying that they trim back on the comedy, and you're right in that they trim back kind of the weirder comedy of like, like the circus bit or things like that. I do think this is full of dark humor, though. This is brimming with dark humor, and there was someone in my audience who was very loud every time they laughed, anytime something funny happened. I don't know what was going on there, but regardless,
I don't think I had another person in my theater. I went to go see this at a midday showing, and I think I was the only person in there.
I had a good dozen or so.
All right.
It wasn't too bad. It's definitely played on one of the smaller screens, which is not surprising given what it is. But yeah, I mean, I like the movie quite a bit. I think it's a very good movie, maybe even a great movie. And the only ding against it really is that I can compare it to another movie that's also great.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that kind of lingers a little bit over it. It does not feel like a pointless remake. It feels like it had some... If anything, I think probably the ending's the weakest part, just because even though it's well done in a lot of ways in a technical standpoint, and it goes for something kind of stark, and it does kind of what the original did, but in its own way. I do think most of the stuff that I felt like they could have like changed to really make it feel different would have been in the last third of the movie. And I think those things being a lot more like what's in Save the Green Planet, except the emotional bit that is missing, which I did miss because that was such a big part. Yeah. But like when they get to some of the crazier like things, I don't want to say what they are yet, but some of the crazier talking points we had when we talked about Save the Green Planet, and they just kind of do them here surprisingly close to what they were in the original. I was just kind of thinking, oh, I really thought they were going to take a swing here and do something different. Like, I almost thought the entire outcome at the end was going to be completely different for a lot of this movie.
I think that's kind of what I was saying when I was like the whole movie. I was thinking about the other one is it was playing it so close for so much of it. There were so many things that were carried over directly that I was kind of thinking in the back of my head, they're going to swerve at the end. There's going to be something so wildly and crazily different that it's going to be like this massive change off into something else. And there is differences. It's not a one for one, obviously. It's very much different in how it plays out, but the end result is more or less the same. And that's something that, I don't know, I think I was kind of let down by my own expectations there by the time I hit that.
Honestly, it was the only letdown I really had in the movie, was that I was kind of expecting them to do something a little bit more unique to this version, and it kind of felt like it just, as much as there is things you can point out that are different, because there's characters from the original that are cut. He doesn't have a girlfriend in this one, and the cousin's new, so they've kind of swapped effectively. There was a whole like detective character in the first movie, kind of trying to like figure out who kidnapped the person, and that's just not here in this movie. So there's differences, and like they make sense, the ones that are there. I do think it's well paced, and like I said, it was constantly beautiful, and I liked a lot of the music as well. Actually, there was like a couple of points where this really dramatic strings comes in, and I was like really loving how operatic it was for what was a relatively mundane bike ride, and it's just like,
oh god. There's one bit towards the end, I won't say exactly what happened, but it goes from kind of one of those dark comedy moments where it's just a static shot and Jesse Plemons is like running down some stairs in front of the camera. It takes like so long, it's just awkwardly comedic. And then it hard cuts into him on his bicycle with that strong strings playing. And I'm like, this is just fun. This is a fun one.
Yeah, it feels like the director, it feels like the cast are having fun. Like, I think it's not a surprise that Emma Stone's now worked with them like 4 or 5 times at this point.
Yeah.
And this is Jesse Plemons, 2 in a row for him as well, because they were both in Kinds of Kindness. Which I've not seen yet. I'm sure we'll do a Yorgos season on Collector's Cut at some point. Maybe next time he's got a movie coming out that's not sci-fi.
I have a feeling viewership-wise it's going to be low, but the comments are going to be ridiculously in-depth.
But I think it feels like good filmmaking through and through, and that goes a long way with me. If I'm sitting there feeling like, oh, you're putting a lot of thought into these shots, and I'm liking just how the scenes are playing out in terms of how you're having someone, it's just something as simple as how Emma Stone walks into the building she works in, and like how captivating those like 30 seconds are because of how it's filmed, and how there's this symmetrical framing to the hallway as she's walking down it, and it feels like it's flowing in this very specific way. Like, just simple stuff like that really, like, elevates, like, almost every sequence in this movie. And then the weird, bold choice to go with 4:3. And I was, like, wondering, and this is maybe just because I'm, like, really attentive to this, but I did notice that clearly as they were projecting it, it was obviously being projected in what I assume was a 16:9, like, frame, but they just had like black bars at the sides. But I could tell where the light of the projector ended and when it was just empty screen. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this is going to start switching at some point. I was almost expecting like a switching aspect ratio, and it never happened. It was just 4:3 the whole time.
There's several bits in here where they do like flashback sequences, and they specifically frame it into very different, it's black and white sequences. I was expecting once that started, like, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the thing that's going to expand out in the full. And then it didn't. I'm like, it's got to be something. Eventually, we're going to get there. It's going to be this big bombastic thing. But no, we just stayed in the same.
No, he just wanted to go by 4:3. That's fine. I mean, Poor Things was 1:6:61, so it's not like he's not dabbled in, less common for these days ratios. But and also, I'll not correct you per se, but I will say you said flashbacks. I would call them flashbacks-ish.
Oh, well, yeah. Stylized flashbacks.
Yes, because there's definitely elements that I don't think actually happened in those flashbacks. I'm just some visual representations of things as opposed to literal flashbacks. Perhaps how the demented mind of Jesse Plemons remembers them rather than the truth.
Yeah, not his character, specifically Jesse Plemons. He's a messed up guy.
Well, he's been hanging around Kirsten Dunst for so long now. He's Are
they together? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, because they met on Fargo season 2 and they've been together since.
Fair enough.
I think.
No wonder he's getting all this indie cred. She loves doing indie movies.
Yeah. Unless they split up, but I'm pretty sure I've seen them in like a double interview as recently as the last couple of weeks, so I assume they're still together.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, also not a big character in the movie per se, but you do see a couple of quick bits of Plemons' character's mum, and I was like, she looks familiar. Who is this actress? It turns out to be Alicia Silverstone, and I'm like, she was playing like high schoolers in the 90s, and I remember that. I feel ancient that she's now the mum of this, middle-aged man. What is happening?
In fairness, I think Jesse Plemons is supposed to be playing slightly younger, and she's supposed to be playing slightly older. Because I read a trivia that the actual age difference between them is only 12 years. So
that makes sense.
I think there's supposed to be a little gap there more than it actually is. But yeah, no, as soon as you see that, it's like, oh no, where am I? How old is this?
Yeah, because technically this is them saying that she's old enough to be either of our mothers, and she isn't really.
No, not really.
Not really. I mean, unless you had a really young pregnancy, but like
1976 was actually Alicia Silverstone's birthday.
Yeah, she'd have been 13 when she had me. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's definitely not considered normal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, that's good to know, I guess, at least. But anyway, so yes, I guess that's the other recognizable name in here. At least that I know.
Say, everyone else seems to be a complete unknown. Even the cousin character, who, balls to him to being able to say, like, an actual top character here. I would say they're in the top 3 at least. It's someone who basically has no acting experience, at least not anything super major. So credit to them of being able to do that.
Yeah, I guess the other prominent character is there's a cop character who's kind of like I'll just say old friend here, but that's not entirely true. But just for the sake of what this spoiler-free section, I'll just say old friend.
Someone who's otherwise connected to Jesse Plemons' family.
Yes. So, and that's pretty much it for the main cast members, honestly. Everyone else is just like a, blinking you'll miss them bit part, really. Yeah. So
there's tons of people working at Emma Stone's place, and some of them have names, but I don't think any of them have more than 3 lines. So
yeah, you see where Jesse Plemons works, so you see a couple of bit characters there, and that's kind of it. So yeah. I'm noticing someone's credited as themselves. I'm going to assume that's the CNN presenter that's on TV at one point. They're probably just playing,
that makes sense.
What they usually do, because I've seen them do that with the famous ones you heard with Perd. That's a real TV presenter, I believe.
I was actually thinking that. I don't know why I was thinking that, because I think most movies get it nowadays, but there's so many movies for a while there that insisted on filming their own news stuff in-house, and it never looks realistic. It always looks like you've never actually seen TV news before. So this one, I was like, no, that seems real. That seems like actual CNN. So to find out it's a real anchor, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's a smart thing to do. I mean, I get if you're a really small movie and you don't have connections, you maybe not be able to just, go to CN Studios and say, hey, can we borrow an anchor for 5 minutes to shoot a scene?
Yeah, we just need them to say something completely made up. No, we're not doing a fake news thing. What are you talking about? This is a real movie.
Well, I imagine it's probably a quick shooting process just because they're so used to just reading off the prompter anyway. All you have to do is feed their lines out of the prompter and they'll just regurgitate it the same way they always do.
That would actually be a beautiful little, okay, we've shot our hour of news. We're going to take 15 minutes at the end here to just do essentially cameo for young producers and directors that just need really quick things done.
Yeah. Maybe the downside is CNN will be like, hey, you need to put our logo in the opening. We need to get a CNN Presents.
Yeah. We're now producing this film.
Anyway, so, I mean, yeah, it's such a weird one to talk about in a lot of ways because I feel like a lot of people who are coming to this review probably have not seen Save the Green Planet, right? Mm-hmm. And just want a review of this, either because they've seen it or they haven't seen it and they're just watching the spoiler-free section. But I feel like it's almost impossible for us not to talk about Save the Green Planet whilst we're talking about this because it'd be weird to ignore it because it was obviously in my head as I'm watching this movie. But I mean, to his credit, I think that it is a valid movie in its own right. It's just like they both exist, they both have their strengths, and this is going to have a bigger audience, even though it is still relatively obviously niche relative to big blockbusters and whatnot. But just by the simple fact that it's in English, more people are going to see this, in the Western world anyway. So. Oh yeah,
no doubt. I mean, also just the idea that the other one's from 2003. It's it wasn't a streaming movie. It wasn't anything like that because that is the way that a lot of foreign films do get noticed nowadays. Is they start on streaming and people are like, oh, I can get subtitles and just sit in and do whatever. But yeah, having this one be a brand new thing, I don't know where it's going to hit streaming, but when it does, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be noticing this one for the first time.
So I think we'll get into the spoilers because we probably want to get into things and get into all the juicy details. So spoilers for Bugonia, you have been warned, and
by extension, Save the Green Planet.
I was going to say that. It also Save the Green Planet technically because a lot of the biggest things we're going to talk about apply to both movies anyway. There's maybe a couple of specific things that it wouldn't apply that I might bring up from Save the Green Planet for comparison's sake. So you're kind of getting spoiled for that as well. But if you've seen Bugonia, then you've spoiled a lot of Save the Green Planet already. So it's not like we're doing too much extra damage in that regard. So anyway, we're in spoilers. We'll get into it. And it's funny because the opening of Save the Green Planet was him explaining to his girlfriend what's going on with a slideshow. And I thought they were doing the same thing here because it opens in this close up of the flower and a bee, and Plemons is narrating, and I'm like, oh, he's explaining to someone, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be this new character. But then it just kind of turned out to be no, he is just talking to this guy, and we're seeing part of his day because he has bees. The character also had bees in the original, although they maybe hit it a little bit harder in this one because we're talking about. I think one of the lines he says early on is oh, the colony leaves the queen, and then the colony just withers and dies, or something to that effect.
Colony collapse disorder, I believe.
There you go.
CCD. Yep.
So we spend a lot of time in this opening 15 minutes or so before the title comes up, introducing our two sides of the plot. One of which being Jesse Plemons' Teddy and his cousin Dawn, and Jesse Plemons is talking around. They don't actually say the word alien for quite some time, right? So obviously I'm watching this, I know exactly what he's talking about because I've seen Save the Green Planet, but they kind of hold it close to the chest for anyone who has not, isn't familiar with the plot.
Yeah, the whole bit that they keep on making you think for an audience that's coming into this fresh is because we keep cutting to Emma Stone and her super rich posh house and going to her posh job and all that.
Morning routine, all that, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically anyone who would fit the role of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. It's that level of business person that doesn't care about anyone else in the world. They just care about themselves. And that's kind of the vibe they're going for when he says they're the ones who did this. They're the ones who we need to look at here.
And when Teddy starts talking about Emma Stone's character, he says it. it does this, it will not feel pain, it will whatever. But and you're like, okay, what's he getting at here? But when it comes to Emma Stone, I have to admit there's a very intentional choice in the performance here from her and the director to have her be very kind of like blank expression throughout a lot of this morning routine, where you're kind of thinking, is she human, is she not like entirely just like a regular person? Because there's a bit where they're like Jesse Plemons and his cousin are on their bikes and they're just sort of walking past like a car park, and he's like, how do you know which ones are them? And he's sort of explaining, and the cousin says, what about any of these people, are they one of them? And he's like, no, they're fine. Well, they're not fine, but they're
oh
human.
yeah, no, I love the way that this movie shows a dying American town. It is such a good visual, because you get the sequences where they're riding their bikes into town. You get not only a strip mall that is already filled with like just the lowest brand name stores, like Dollar General, stuff like that. Like it's all this stuff, but also how much it's broken down. How much you see these people in like old cars, how much you see storefronts that are boarded up rather than trying to look good. And then also the town just feels empty. It feels like anyone who could abandon this place has left a long time ago. And then counteract that point with the one biggest thing it feels like in the area, the one thing that is separate and yet still in this place, is the headquarters for this place, the big central I forget the name of it. Oxalith, I believe.
Emma Stone's company, whatever it's called.
It's a chemical something that also maybe does a bit of Amazon work. Like, that's it.
Yeah, they're umbrella corporation, basically, for anyone who gets that reference. So yeah, like it's doing this, and it's intercutting between his like sort of old school house, which is a little bit messy and run down, and he's always wearing dirty clothes. Cut to Emma Stone, and she's got like a face mask that lights up in the morning that's doing like face care
it's a
technology.
Red light. Yeah, an infrared light mask.
I'd never seen one of those before, so that was particularly weird. But she's got her routine. She's having a shake. She's doing some exercising, whatever it is. And she's going to work, and like I said, there's all these symmetrical shots of her walking down and past all the people and all the rest of it. And they spend some time we get to know her a little bit, but she's doing like a piece to camera, right? They're recording like a speech she's giving to her staff about diversity. So she's talking about how we're a diverse company, because if you hire diverse people, you get different solutions, different perspectives, rather than just iterating on the same ideas. And then she kind of messes up halfway through and says, damn it, Jerry, the word diversity is too much in here. Could we diversify the language a little bit?
You're saying it very like energetic and angry. She has this like controlled cold seething to her, where she's doing everything very analytically and businesslike. She's like, well, can we do this? Great, thank you so much. And then she just jumps right back into the next take. And
then the other bit we get of her is when she's talking to her receptionist or assistant, and she's like, hey, make sure that email goes out, by the way, about the finishing times. And she's like, yes, miss. And but she keeps like, because the assistant doesn't ask any questions. She tries to walk away after every single line that sounds like an ending to what she's saying. But she's like, no, it's important. It's important to us that we have this new era in the company where we make it optional that after 5:30 the employees may leave. But I want you to emphasize, though, that it is optional. We're not forcing people to leave at 5:30, and if there's any work that needs to be done, obviously they should still stay, but it's on them. They are free to and I think that's one of the big themes of this movie that was really coming in from her side of this, and kind of like what's caused and kind of feeds into the delusion, quote unquote, of the alien thing, is this illusion of free will. Like this entire policy from the company that, hey, we're going to let you go at 5:30, you've got the choice to do that. Well, you don't really. We will be mad at you if you make that choice. We will punish you if you make that choice.
Again, even ignoring the alien stuff, that feels so absolutely like, again, Amazon, the sort of thing where it's like, no, what are you talking about? We force our workers to piss in bottles at their stations. We don't do that at all. But they do have to meet quotas, and the quotas mean they can't go to the bathroom. So if they choose to piss in bottles, that's on them. Like it's an it just carries directly over from there. But my favorite bit of that conversation is how she leads off with, I want everyone to know this. So we're different now. We're not going to have a repeat of what happened before. And we never find out what happened before, but it's entirely set up that like she only doing this because something really bad happened. and now she's kind of just damage control.
I can't remember what the line was, but I'm pretty sure there is a line that implies that one of the employees hurt themselves, like intentionally. There was an implication.
Yeah, I know Jesse Plemons' like coworker accidentally hurt her hand.
No. I think there was a line in this scene. I want to say there was a line in this scene where there was something she said about, oh, we don't want any of our employees like getting. I don't know. There was a line that kind of implied to me that someone had jumped off the roof or something at some point, or had a nervous breakdown, whatever the case is. So we got this, and then likewise we have Jesse Plemons explaining to his cousin all this stuff. They're buying supplies, they're buying tape and cables and all the things you need for a good kidnapping, right? And there's a scene at the fireplace, and now this is one thing that's very new in this version, because I did a spit take almost when he said it. Is he's telling his cousin, look, we have to be focused. We have to, like, you know, if it's split over two scenes, because there was a good laugh in my theater actually when he's saying, hey, we can't have any distractions, so you know, no video games, no screens, no whacking off. And I swear the no whacking off line got a good cheer and laugh at my screening, especially with the cousin's reaction.
He just like throws up his hands like, what am I supposed to do with my time?
But that's like my favorite daily activity. What are you talking about? But there's a scene at the fireplace outside, right? They're outside at the fire, and he's like, and I really meant this, we can't have any distractions. So there's this chemical I'm holding up. You know what this is? This is for chemical castrations, so that we cannot be tempted by the other sex. So we are focused purely on the task at hand. And poor Don, the cousin, is just kind of like, I was kind of hoping to be with someone someday. He's like, I know, buddy, I know, but we have to be committed to the cause. And
this is more important.
I would like to point out, there's a line a little bit later, right, where this just comes back up again, where Don says, you know, that stuff you gave me, because he eventually agrees to it and gets injected with it. He's like, that stuff you gave me is, you know, I'm feeling a bit funny. I mean, you feeling funny? And Jesse Plemons just kind of shrugs and goes, don't worry, it'll pass. And I went, you sneaky bitch, you didn't take it. You made your cousin take it. I don't think you took it. I think you made him take the chemical castration formula. I don't think you've taken a damn thing, you son of a bitch.
That's possible. I mean, to be fair, they don't dive into it. It's up for debate, but yeah, that's entirely possible.
Yeah, they don't show him taking it. They show him injecting his cousin. We never see Jesse Plemons inject shit to himself.
Yeah. No, I will say that was kind of one thing, it being such a big addition. I mean, it doesn't amount to much, but it is there intentionally. I feel like that is possibly just a byproduct of in Save the Green Planet, it was a man abducting a man, whereas in this one, it's a man abducting a woman. And just to be able to like completely wipe that off the table from the beginning of saying like, is this a sex thing? Will it be a sex thing? Nope, it's nothing to do with that. We don't have to worry about that plot point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other effect it has, though, is that it does make Jesse Plemons seem like less likable and more unhinged. Like, as much as the guy in the first movie, yes, he was kidnapping people and he was doing nefarious things, and it did seem crazy. This made Jesse Plemons feel more dangerous immediately. I felt that he was convincing his cousin to do this. Although I did also like the line, though, when they do have her kidnapped and they're talking to her later. And there's a point where she says something, and she's not even actually flirting or trying to use her wiles, but Jesse Plemons just goes, aha, I knew you'd try this, you alien beast, but don't you worry, we have taken care of it, we're both chemically castrated. And she just sort of looks at both of them and goes, oh, F me. Like, it's because, like, and not because she's disappointed, but just because she's realizing how deranged of a person she's dealing with. It's like, oh no, this is how far he's went with this shit.
Yeah, no, it was literally, she was breaking down like, okay, so what is this? Is it a ransom? Is it a sex thing? And he's just like, ha, you wish it was a sex thing. And so we're chemically castrated. She's like, oh, Jesus Christ. And like, just that little moment where it's like, oh no, this isn't your normal, average, everyday crazy. This is advanced crazy.
There's something wildly, darkly funny about the kidnapper saying something that's genuinely convincing that this kidnapping is not going to lead to a sex thing, but that the way he proves it is actually more disturbing because it makes him sound like an even crazier man than someone who just wanted a sex thing.
Well, it makes it seem like there is no exit plan. Like, we have committed so fully to this that we're going to see it through no matter what. Like that's the level of derangement it sends off here. So it immediately takes away the idea of, oh, they're not really worried about going to prison at this point. Like they're going to have something happen to them regardless here.
So yeah, Emma Stone yells "New era, woo!" as their assistant leaves the office after this email chat. And then when she leaves her work, she says bye to the guard and says, "Oh, by the way, Paul, you can. It's 5:32. You can leave if you want, unless you're busy. Are you busy? If you're busy, you should stay there." And I'm like, of course, he's a security guard. He's always busy. His job is literally to stand there and guard the building. He never has like downtime.
Yeah, it's just one of those nice little touches that completely removes her from the rest of the people working there. And so from an audience perspective, you're like, nah, she seems kind of alien. She seems kind of out there. I don't believe it.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I was like, oh, I don't know. I almost feel this is going to build up to her not being an alien in this version.
Right.
Just because it's like just super corporate and capitalist and slimy. And I'm like, I could just buy this person existing. I can buy it. It's not even that much of a stretch.
Well, that's the thing. Like I said before, Teddy, Jesse Plemons' character, is so much of somebody that you know. Whether you know them well, you still know this kind of person who's conspiracy theorist, sort of laden like that. This is the same sort of thing of, it sounds like a Jeff Bezos. It sounds like an Elon Musk. It sounds like that level of so completely removed from the rest of society and just the loving the smelling of their own farts, that it's like, nah, I believe that this is a kind of person that also exists in this world.
So they're waiting for her when she gets back to her place, and they come out. One of the things they don't have from the original movie is like a set costume that he always puts on when he's doing his like alien hunting. Because in the original movie, he had that goofy tech hat and like the sort of the black kind of big like bin bag liner over his body. It looked kind of distinct. Here they just like they literally have like cut out faces of like some actress over their face.
It's Aniston, Jennifer Aniston.
Is it? I didn't even notice it was Jennifer Aniston. No, fair enough. But yeah, so and this was a very funny scene actually, because when they try and grab her, they are incompetent at doing so. Okay. Emma Stone starts kicking the shit out of them and making a run for it. At one point, Plemons tries to pepper spray her, right, or mace her, and he does it from the back.
Mace.
Yeah, he does it from the back though. He hits the back of her head, and I'm like, do you understand how this stuff's supposed to work? The back of her head's not going to be affected by it.
See, the fact that he was so incompetent with it, I thought it was like an anti-alien thing. I thought it was actually just like Lysol or something, and he's like, this'll stop you, and then it doesn't do shit. And it's like, oh, okay.
I'm not sure which makes him look worse. The fact that he's pepper spraying the back of her head, or he's thinking that he's, I don't know, this random can of something's alien repellent.
Right, exactly. It's incompetence no matter which way you view it. But then finally the thing that takes her down is that they manage to inject her with some sort of sedative to knock her out.
And she still gets away, actually. She ends up collapsing like when she's like 50 feet away, and she's like, oh wait, shit. I got jabbed. Oh well.
Yep.
So when they get her in her car and they drive her off, I do appreciate they kept the whole they communicate with their hair bit. Which I kind of expected, because I did see at least a couple of photos of her with her head shaved, so I was like, oh, I think that's probably going to be in there, because so poor Don's like, do I really have to shave her head? This feels weird. He's like, just do it. They communicate with their hair. Come on, Don, this is important.
I love when Don tries to do it. He's like too gentle with it at first. He's like, it's not coming off. I don't know like what's happening. And he's like, you really got to get in there. Don't worry, you're not going to hurt her. And he's just, then you start seeing the shaving happen.
Yeah, we should probably talk about Don a little bit more specifically in that.
Sure.
He's he's very much taken advantage of here by Teddy, because he is, he's got learning difficulties clearly. He's not, all there, and he's being kind of led on by saying, hey, this is how this works, this is how that works. And he's basically just got one voice in his ear telling him what right and wrong is, and telling him that this needs to happen, that there's an alien invasion, and we have to, do something about it.
Yeah, they very early on established that these two are the only, they only have each other. The rest of their family is gone by whatever means. It's just them left. And Don obviously trusts Teddy implicitly. He is very much like, ride or die, I'll do whatever. But he does still have that level of I don't want to say disbelief, but it's just conscious, more or less. Like, even if he believes in everything that Teddy is saying there, he still feels like he knows right from wrong in a general sense, and he hasn't been led as far down the rabbit hole as Teddy did.
Yeah. So they get her back to the house, put her in the basement, and they chain her up. They rub her with antihistamine cream, I believe.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It does something. He justifies it as it messes with their neural pathways.
Yes, we'll go with that. So yeah, she eventually wakes up, of course, and she's obviously so confused because she's waking up out of the sedative, and she's like, "Is this the hospital? Like, what's going on?" And he gives her a tape recorder, and I think it's actually Don who just out of nowhere says, "Are you really an alien?" Or like he says it first, and she's like, "Wait, what are you asking me?" He's like, "You're going to send a message back to your ship," and she's like, "What ship? Your mother's ship." And she's like, what? There's a genuine confusion to her, like when she's like hearing all this for the first time.
Yeah, there's the entire opening sequence here of them talking to each other is basically Emma Stone just trying to figure out everything, but you can tell that at some point in her job training, she did some level of like, how do you deal with a hostage situation? Because she's very clearly like, set up lines of communication, tell them that they can have whatever they want, like work with them as best you can, try to establish this conversation back and forth. However, she also has this level of higher than thou pettiness over them, where she's like, let me tell you how this is going to work out. In about 2 days time, max, the FBI is going to be busting down your door and you're done. Like, there's nothing else that's going to happen here. And she gives this whole spiel, and then Teddy's just like, very convincing. Unfortunately, you're an alien, so
yeah, because he has a whole little speech. He's got planned. He's got like a little booklet, and he's like even though you technically are not covered by the Geneva Convention, we will still honor its rules as in the human spirit in which it was intended. And he's all very serious about it. And I guess he does to a point. Obviously, he does get angry later and hits her, but like,
he doesn't want to follow the Geneva Conventions, but he realizes he should.
No, he's going for it. I was surprised later on when they did the reveal that he had lots of previous kidnapped victims, in the jars and the heads and all that, because of the way Dawn didn't seem to like be aware of the previous people as much.
Yeah, that they never really tried to square that, but by that point, Dawn's already gone, so they don't need to.
Yeah, the only thing that caught my eye, though, is that when she finds that area of the basement later, it does seem like it's kind of hidden, as if, Dawn wasn't meant to find it at the very least. So they were kind of thinking about it. I was wondering, like, okay, where was Dawn all that time, though, when he was doing these other victims, is what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, the only thing I could think is, like, maybe I missed a line where it says Dawn, like, just moved in somewhat recently. Like, this isn't maybe like, a few months ago.
Very much the opposite, because when when the cop character, Casey is talking to Jesse Plemons, he says, "Oh, you still with Dawn?" Like, so it sounds like it's been
a while.
The status quo for a while. Yeah, maybe since the mom got sick, or maybe even before then. Hard to tell. But so. No, I mean, obviously, like, there's a lot of scenes where they talk to Emma Stone, right, in the basement, and there's an evolution to those as it plays out. I don't know if going, beat for beat with them is even feasible, to be honest, but...
The one thing that we should specifically say is the plan, and that is he wants her to leave a message for her mothership that he believes is going to be coming back to Earth at the lunar eclipse, which is in 4 days' time. And he wants to leave a message in order for them to have a conversation with the head emperor, whatever, royal family, because he firmly believes that the reason that everything sucks on Earth is because the aliens are interfering and making it suck.
Yes.
And so he's basically telling them, spare us, let us get back to life being good here on Earth, and please leave us alone.
Which gets into some of the other themes of the movie, is this idea you've got this disgruntled guy who wants to feel important and also wants to feel that there's something to blame for the world being shitty. And to an extent, he's kind of found one of the people somewhat responsible in that he has found the head of a major corporation who is in capitalism. So he's kind of not necessarily too far off the mark with that side of it. But this idea of there being this mega conspiracy theory, because it's easier to hate someone for how bad life is than to kind of accept your part in it or whatever else. Now, there's also the more personal side of it, which is that Michelle's company directly got his mum sick, right? That was something that obviously we explore a little bit as the flashbacks come in, and then later on is addressed more clearly.
The slow reveal over the course of it is that the mom was already addicted to opioids. They were trying some sort of experimental drug to either help with her withdrawal or to wean her off it regardless. I don't think it's made totally clear what happened.
The visual representation of her being addicted is that in the black and white flashback, Jesse Plemons is by the bathtub and she's got like, I don't know, 100 giant syringes sticking out of her.
Oh, okay. You thought that was for the addiction side of things.
That's what I thought that was going for, yeah.
So for me, I thought that was the treatment. I thought that was the idea of she had to take all these shots and pills and stuff like that. And that was the visual metaphor of her saying that, like, I'm willing to undergo this for the sake of giving you a better life, giving you a better chance.
I guess she was still talking, so I was assuming this was before the treatment. But I mean, it's open. I guess it's open to interpretation. To be honest,
definitely. I mean, she then also immediately afterwards floats out of the bed, 6 feet above the covers.
Yes, which is why I think I also took it as this represented her addiction. This idea that once she's had her fix, she's floating on air, kind of thing.
Yeah, possible.
She drops a C-bomb in that scene, which is not really that notable, except for the fact that at the start of the movie when the rating came up and it said 15 and it said strong violence, strong whatever, and it said very strong language, and I'm like, oh, that very means a C-bomb, because if it was just F-bombs it would just say strong language, so that's a C-bomb.
Fair enough. I mean, we just got an R. I didn't check what it was R4, but I assume violence and language.
Yeah. No, it says it at the start for us. When
it says it up. I just didn't see it. I see the R and then I just zone out because I'm like, whatever.
Fair enough.
But no, the continuation of that plot, though, is that she got the experimental treatment. It didn't work. They didn't do enough research or whatever. It reacted poorly to her and many other people. And she ended up going comatose. And then that's more or less where we leave that off. And
that's one of the things that they've focused in on a little bit from the original, where in the original, the mum is sick and in hospital. That's a carryover. But this specifically being the cause, and then also it misses out kind of, like, because in the original there's a lot of flashbacks that imply things about other characters. You know, he had a loved one, like a girlfriend that also died in like a riot. He had a dad that also died. Like, there was kind of more characters in his past that tragically were taken away from him. Here, they just focus in on the mother and make it this sort of tragic story. Even though it definitely feels like, there might have been more of a family at some point, and it's just these two left now. But at but we don't see a lot of that in the movie itself. It's just kind of implied a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that there's just been a bunch of tragedy that happened to this family, especially as the cop character gets involved, and he kind of talks about things through this lens of like, this place is just so sad. There's a sadness around this place. But it's only ever the mother character that we get anything elaborated on.
Yeah, one of the first big things when they sort of take Emma Stone and he does some electroshock treatment stuff, and he's trying to get her to admit stuff, and Dawn's getting worried because it's too much and he's going to kill her, and eventually Jesse Plemons gets really kind of like, struck, and he's like, wait a minute, you've taken this much voltage, that means you've got the royal bloodline in you, you're higher ranking than I thought. I'm sorry, Your Highness, I've treated you poorly. And that kind of is a pivot point for how he treats her a little bit. He starts to like treat her. It's not like he likes her all of a sudden, but he goes through the decorum of like inviting her up to dinner and like, strapping her to a table at the dinner table, or a chair at the dinner table, I should say.
But before this point, it felt like he was treating her as if it was just, you're the phone, you are the person who will be able to connect me to the higher up. But now I recognize you are the higher up, so please leave us alone, pretty please.
Yeah, there was a few, like, obviously there's a few beats before then, like, the moment he gets angry when she refuses to admit that she's an alien, or even when she does kind of just give him what he wants and says, you're right, I'm an alien, but she does it so nonchalant that he's like, I don't believe you, you're making fun of me, kind of thing.
That's the lead into the electroshock, is she's like, there, I put it on the tape recorder, and the tape recorder message is basically her going like, hey, mothership, it's your boy. I'm gonna have some friends over, so be sure to let them up. Bye. Like, that's more or less the tone of it. And he's just like, all right, cool. And she feels like she's playing ball. She says like, oh, see, look, I'm willing to admit it. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. Hard cut, her strapped in the electroshock chair. And it's like, oh, he's not playing anymore. He's pissed off now.
Oh yeah, because he loses his temper at one point and smashes a chair to bits. Like, he almost hits her with it, and then he just smashes it on the floor right in front of her. So we get like a whole sequence of a few of those things. But yeah, once we get to like, oh, she's the even though she's the Empress, which obviously that's the reveal at the end, that she's actually the Emperor of the whole thing. But like, you're part of the royal bloodline, so we'll have you up for dinner. We'll be all nice. And that's where we get kind of this like more extended conversation that dives into about the mother, because she's like, you know what? I think I remember you. I remember you because I remember paying your family off for what happened to your mother, and kind of delves into it a little bit. And Jesse Plemons does not like her talking about his mom and saying her name. It's like, no, we're not going to talk about that anymore.
They do two things specifically here that I absolutely adore. There's a moment where Emma says, you know, oh, this Sandy, the mother's name is Sandy. It's like, Sandy was your mother. And he immediately jumps in with is my mother. And you just feel this like wave of hatred coming off of him. It's just like, she's not dead yet, you bastard. And then the other side of it is, I think prior to this point, there was another flashback that basically shows the paying off scene. And it's, again, all done very stylistically. Like, he's holding his mother like a balloon. She's just like floating up in the air. And he's holding her by a bunch of like IV cables and stuff. But Emma Stone makes the line of like, look, we're so sorry this happened. We're willing to pay off. We're willing to do whatever. We can stop research into this. We can. But maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should continue, because like, if we make it better, then we can help people like your mother. And you just see this corporate doublespeak going on in the moment. And you can, it cuts over to Jesse Plemons, and he's just like, shut down. You can see he's already made up his mind as to what's going to happen next.
Yeah, there's a really sort of weird tone shift in this scene. Or I say tone shift, not tone shift, but like Plemons is playing along nicely and like, oh, we're having a nice dinner, we're being civil, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it's the most tense spaghetti meatball dinner you've ever seen in your life. And then all of a sudden it turns to like, we were having such a nice dinner and now we're not. And she's like, no, we're not. And whose fault is that? And she's basically giving like, you know, tit for tat here. She's like edging him on, like getting him railed up to the point where the end of the scene is Jesse Plemons literally like running across the table. He crawls across the table and tackles Emma Stone to the ground, and they start having like a proper fight until she eventually gets hit. And this is all coinciding with the cop character showing up, who we got a scene earlier on where he talks to Jesse Plemons and says, hey, I wanted to see how you're doing, and maybe I could come over and see how things are at some point. And Jesse Plemons is just very awkward about the whole thing. But there is one weird mention of, oh, I used to be your babysitter, and I feel bad for what happened when I was your babysitter. There's like one mention of it in that first scene with them, and then it comes up again here, because this is basically the equivalent in the original movie when the detective was around and the TV was on with the security camera with the kidnap victim, whereas here it's like a baby monitor, but they don't play for tension here. He just kind of turns it off like as soon as he comes in. It's not played the same way.
Immediately -2 points for not having the toe to the remote to turn off the baby monitor.
Yeah, I don't know if Plemons has got that dexterity in him.
I don't care. I needed it.
I don't know if he's got it. But you know, this cop, he's like, oh, I'll have a bit of coconut cake, and he's making small talk. He's doing all this stuff. And you know, like Jesse Plemons is sort of trying to hide the fact that he's got a fork wound in his arm because Emma Stone stabbed him with a fork during the fight. And so they're sitting there, and again he brings this up, like, you know, I really feel like I should bring up, you know, what I did when I was babysitting you, and you know, I still care about you, you know, and I feel bad about it. And Plemons just looks uncomfortable, and he says, look, it was a long time ago, forget about it. And he's like, really? And we never find out what he did.
Well, the one line that the cop says is, A, I want you to know I never did that to any other kid, and B, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like a power thing, but I didn't even like it at the time. And all that combined, you get the vibe. You know what happened.
There's an implication, but they never say it. They never say it out loud. And Plemons just kind of is sitting there uncomfortable. He's sort of looking around and doesn't look him in the eye, kind of thing during this moment. It feels. It's definitely, you know, like Teddy's had a weird, rough life. It's fair to say.
No, absolutely. Like, you look at just step by step his upbringing of having a mom that was addicted to opioids, having this babysitter do whatever to him. There was also a bit where when they're having the dinner conversation, he gives a little bit more on how did he end up at the conspiracy theorist level. And he says that after what happened to his mom, he basically speed ran all of the extreme ideologies. Like, he was like, I was on the left, I was on the far right, I was trying everything I could. And then finally I settled on Andromedans are coming to Earth and they're ruining everything.
Yeah, and he's even got like a 3D model on his laptop of what the ship's going to look like. And, you know, he's really nailed all this. Yeah.
They do a bit where they show the 3D model and it's like not revealed yet that it's just him like scrolling through on his laptop. But as he says this, he's giving a voiceover in like a very Carl Sagan sort of way. He's just like, oh, you know, we've got some information on the ships and all that. But when he's saying where the information came from, he's like, and of course, because of the satellite imagery and the Redditor, like God mode 776 or whatever. It's like, yes, of course, the Redditor helped you out.
Although he does point out, though, yes, I was influenced by this Redditor's post, but most of the discoveries here are my own. Like, he's really, he has to like put himself above and be like, hey, I'm the important one here. So it's this idea of having like, I don't know if there's what sort of complex you'd call it, but like I have to be important complex.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's the prime way of what conspiracy theorists are. Like, the way that they view that the world can't just be as seemingly normal and unimportant and random as it is. There has to be some structure, there has to be a reason, and I have to be important in the middle of that.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, this plays out, and Emma Stone wakes up at a certain point and realizes that the way Dawn is pointing a gun at her and like keeping her down in the basement, she's like, wait, there's someone up there, isn't there? Like, there's a reason why you're like staying down guarding me here. And, you know, sure enough, upstairs, like, Jesse Plemons is entertaining the cop, and he's taking him out to see the bees, and all the rest of it. And Emma Stone's like, hey, Dawn, I know you're not a bad guy. I know that you're not as crazy as he is. You know, if you let me go, if you help me, like, you know you don't want to go through what he's planning and what he's up to and all the rest of it. So, you know, like, I can help. I promise, like, I can help you. You can have a better life. You don't need him. I know you think he's all you've got, but, like, we can find something else for you. We can find someone else for you. Like, you can have something. Obviously, I don't really believe her, but this is one of those moments where Dawn ends this by saying, tell Teddy, like, I love him. And as soon as he says that, you're like, oh, he's about to kill himself. Like, that's obviously what he's about to do.
Oh, yeah. The whole intermediate of the conversation is basically him saying, like, if you are an alien, and she's like, I'm not. And he's like, okay, but if you are, can you take me away? Like, can we get away from this? And an earlier conversation he had with Teddy also alluded, like, he is viewing the entire alien thing as a way to escape their life. He doesn't want to come back to it and, like, try to make it good again afterwards. He just wants to leave it behind. And that's, as on top of the chemical castration stuff, which he said was making him sad, it all leads up to this moment here. Yeah,
it does make Don a really sad, tragic character that he effectively just wants an escape route. He wants to get away from all this, however that is. And I think the last line that Emma Stone says to him is, are you ready to go now? And he says, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then he says, tell Don I love him, or tell Teddy I love him. And then he, you know, turns the shotgun on himself. And the noise of this obviously is heard outside. So immediately Jesse Plemons starts throwing bees at the cop.
Look, it makes more sense than what was in Save the Green Planet. Save the Green Planet went balls to the wall with that scene. I still kind of wanted that. It was so outlandish. This one makes more sense. He uses the bees more or less as a distraction, a holding agent, while then he goes and gets like a shovel and just beats the cop over the head with it. But still, seeing the bees swarm up and like pushing the guy off the cliff in the other movie, 10 out of 10 moment. I think that was my moment of the whole movie. I think that was like my choice of scene.
That sounds familiar. So when Jesse Plemons comes back in, he sees Dawn lying there dead, and Emma Stone's like, I swear I didn't do that. I swear I didn't do it. And clearly things are getting heightened here, right? and she tries to like kind of like go really into character, and this is kind of following the plot beats of the original, but again I feel like her performance and the way they sort of do it here is a little bit different, where I feel like here it does seem very clear that she's lying, especially when she says, hey, there's a cure for what your mother's going through. There's a cure, and I have it in my car, right? It's a yellow bottle. It says it's antifreeze, but I swear that's just a trick because it has to be inconspicuous. No, it's not antifreeze. It's the cure for what your mom's got. Like, you can go use that and, like, you know, save her, and then we'll talk about what's next, right?
Yeah. And she reveals like the whole plan here of saying like, oh, your mom was just a test agent. We're trying to like change humanity at a DNA level. And if we succeed, then she'll live. If we fail, then she doesn't. But we can cancel the whole thing if you just inject her with definitely not antifreeze.
So he rides off on his bike. He gets the antifreeze. He's on his way to the old folks home or the care home, and he goes in and there's an IV. And he's like, don't worry, Mom, it's not antifreeze, as he injects the antifreeze into her IV. Yep. And then she dies and flatlines, and he's like, oh no, whoops a daisy, I made a huge mistake.
I've been fooled. And it's I mean, if you see it from his perspective, obviously he just had this huge moment where his cousin, the only person left, is dead. And so he's left with this choice of like, do I save theoretically the only other person that's left, my mother? I can get her out of this. This won't have been a total wash. And it's Emma, for the first time, it feels like she is honest to God in character, not just playing character. She is actually admitting to the alien stuff here. And she's saying like, yep, nope, this is, she says the plan confidently. She says it without hesitation. And I think Teddy just wants to buy in. He wants this to be true.
Yeah, and that's one of the things here is, like, you can read this as Emma Stone's actually just starting to tell the truth, other than the antifreeze, obviously. Whereas in the original, it was a lot more open, especially since the next part, where the kidnapped victim in that one, when he tells this insane story about the history of humanity, it's all kind of implied that he's taking parts of that from things that he sees in the room. So it's very much like he's making this up still. Whereas with Emma Stone, there's no indication that she's taking this from anywhere, so it does kind of feel like she is just saying what happened in a lot of ways, even though it does sound crazy. That said, though, I'm going to say it, right? Yorgos, you're a coward. And why are you a coward?
Showing it?
Yes, he did not show it. So Jesse Plemons rushes back, he's got a shotgun, he wants to kill her, and she's like, hey, I'm sorry she died, but I'll tell you about things. Here's what happened.
She got the keys from Don's dead body as well. She could have left. She could have left, but she's found his secret room with the other murder victims.
Yes.
She stayed back.
Yeah, which I guess, I mean, how do you say, like, she wants to take him up to the ship to, like, punish him, basically, or, like, try him for his crimes?
Well, the bit that she says when he comes back down, the first thing out of her mouth is, how many people did you kill, and how many of them were Andromedans? And he says 2, to which point she says, you idiot, you fool, do you know what you've done? And it's like, you know, you can read that multiple different ways. You could read that as, you killed innocent people, actual humans, there's no way you're out of this now. Or you can read it as, you killed some of my people, therefore, yes, I'm going to punish you for that.
Yeah, I like her tone, actually, when he comes back for that scene, because it's very different than I'm scared and I'm waiting for my kidnapper to come back. It's very, you know, ready to throw down. But she's like, look, I'll tell you about what happened. You know, like, your stupid species messed up. So she basically tells, and I was shocked how much this matched up with the story
1-to-1.
that the guy in the original movie does. I mean, there's a couple of bits that are a little more, but, well, not vague, but like, she mentions the building of an ark, but she doesn't say Noah, right? Or she doesn't imply Noah. She just says an ark, right? So there's a couple of vaguer bits, and when they bring up the apes, they don't specifically say, or went back to apes and evolved again. She just sort of says that, oh, whatever humans existed went to apes. But anyway, I should probably explain this for anyone who's not seen Save the Green Planet or Bugonia.
Yeah. I'll jump in wherever I got additions.
Right, so basically, humanity's actually happened and then ended and then restarted again, right? I'll just say that up front. Aliens, the Andromedans came to Earth, dinosaurs were here, and then they accidentally killed the dinosaurs. Whoops-a-daisy. Well, we'll start something fresh. We'll make creatures who are in our image, and that's why we look like Andromedans, because we're based on them, right? Classic, you know, where did humans come from theory, right? Humans or aliens made them look like us, or us look like them. And that was all fine, people advanced. But then
Atlantis.
They had Atlantis, yes, in this section, like we had Atlantis. But then they started wanting to be better than us and fight us, so they started like doing their own genetic modifications to try and make stronger humans, but this made them more aggressive. It led to lots of war, and eventually, they were killed out. The entire Earth went into like, overdrive, blah, 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 blah. There was an arc, and the few survivors, like the people who were actually in charge of the ship, died, but some of the humans that sort of were primitive, the apes.
The experiments.
Right?
The mean ones.
They're the apes. They evolved from there to what we now understand as human beings. And of course, human beings have had tons of wars, tons of conflict. You've been kind of a giant mess. And we're trying to fix that. But you're just a dumb ape. And that's what she calls Jesse Plemons. You're just one of these dumb apes. And he's like, I'm not an ape. And he comes into this scene ready to kill her because he's pissed about his mom. And by the end of this scene, he is cowering on that chair with that gun, like scared of her.
Oh, yeah. No, she does a great performance here because it does feel like there's just been a switch flicked. It does feel like, especially if you know how the movie ends, like this is her now being 100% upfront with him and is 100% pissed at what's happened. And she even does the bit of like, of course it was antifreeze. I expected you to go kill your mother and I'd get out while you were being arrested by the cops, but yet somehow you escaped? Like, what is that?
Yeah. I mean, I still think there's room to it. Like, I mean, I think for us, because we know where it's probably going, we're seeing this as, she's playing this more straight than the character in the first movie. I think there is room here for she's just making up a bunch of bullshit, because they're still going to play it a little bit fast and loose in terms of, like, everything that comes after this. There's all this wiggle room of, like, she's just making up that the calculator is a code to, like, unlock a transport beam. This closet, she's just saying that's where you go to beam up to the ship. It's not actually going to be a teleporter or whatever, It absolutely feels like she's buying time in the third act. Like, it feels like she's doing that. However, the other movie, Save the Green Planet, I think did a much better job of planting the seed of this is all just being made up, because it showed, like, his notebooks, and it showed all of these different, like, things from the past that obviously the CEO character was combining together to make this origin story. I think that that's a missed opportunity of, while she was exploring his room, just to pick up on a few things, just to give the audience the idea that this is all something that because otherwise, where is she pulling this from? Why is this making sense to him? I get that point. I will say, as much as I was joking about the cowardice of not showing all the clips and images and like doing the monolith from 2001 for the apes and all that.
Yeah.
I do actually like the intensity of the performance here, and I think Emma Stone does like deliver it, and it's a banger of a scene because of that. So I have no complaints in the execution per se. For me, like, where I like directly compare the two movies and think, the original is better, even though the scene here is very good. Like, this entire sequence where she takes them to her work, which is where she's going to say that they're beaming up from, and they go to her office and all the employees are acting weird because, like, hey, you've been missing and there's been a manhunt for the last like 3 days. What's going on? And they go to the office. She gets into her desk and she's like, this is a calculator. I punch in a 56-digit code and that'll alert them that I'm about to transport up. And he's like, why a calculator? It's like, well, it had to look normal. It couldn't be anything suspicious. And he's like, yeah, you're so right. You're so. And he's buying into the conspiracy theory like side of it. He's like, this feels like she's making up shit as she goes along. Yeah. And she's punching up a code. And just before, like, she's like, hey, okay, I think I'm about ready now. And like, that closet there, that's where we're going to beam up. Before he goes in, he's like, oh, by the way, I should let you know that I've prepared for every eventuality. So I'm going to try and talk reason to your emperor. But in case he doesn't see reason, and he unzips his jacket, he's got like a bomb vest on. And it's like, oh, and she's like, oh, that's something. All right, well,
wow, you're so smart. Good job. You thought of everything. The emperor's really going to like the fact that you thought so far ahead. Very smart of you.
Yeah, I think my favorite detail of the scene, right, is when she's explaining, okay, you go in there, I'll count down 3, 2, 1, hit the button, and you'll beam up. And then she's like, hey, if you're scared, I'll go first. And I love the idea that makes him want to go first, even though he's effectively putting himself in a closet so she can get away. And then obviously once he goes in, the bomb goes off and you get like a dent from the inside of the closet, and then his just decapitated head comes flying out. So it's a fun sequence. Like, I enjoyed this sequence, but when I compare it to the scene in Save the Green Planet where it's basically the kidnapped CEO and the kidnapper fighting for their lives, and then sprinklers are all going off, and the emotional music's playing, and that's the build up here in the equivalent section of the movie, which they've completely changed the context of, and they've changed how it all plays out. I do prefer Save the Green Planet in this light, because there's more of an emotional hit to that scene, and like I feel like there was just like, it felt like more of a climax, whereas here, once he's dead, I'm like, okay, that was a really funny shot of the head coming out, but I'm like, she's on her own now. Like,
yeah,
what are we doing now? I don't know. It was different.
I think it definitely feels like the other one had a much more climactic moment to it. This one just kind of felt like oh, okay, and we're done. Like, that's the end of the sequence. Like, it kind of just comes out of nowhere as a stopping point. But what really kind of set me off on the wrong foot is I don't think I liked the fact that they said it during the workday. I don't like the fact that they came in and, like, she had to walk past the security guard at, like, the opening barricade, the security guard to get in the building, a bunch of her employees at the front desk and just in their workstations, and then her assistant. And everyone just let her by, because she's just like, yeah, everything's fine, don't worry about it. I'm going to be in my office with this strange man who looks like he hasn't showered in a week that's escorting me into my office as I walk with a limp because he hit me in the leg with a shovel before. Like, all of that stuff is easily sidestepped in the original, where we just go in after hours. Like, nobody's there. We're just doing this at night. And I don't know, that kind of telegraphed to me that this sequence wasn't going to result in anything too climactic, because as soon as anything started happening, people would jump in. Like, there's no, like, they'd have to write themselves out of that corner so much harder to make it a climactic ending scene here. So I was already a little bit on the wrong foot there, but I do wholeheartedly agree that the first one, just by its very nature of having the sprinklers and having, like, the one girl character come back and, like, fight and do her aerobics or whatever, like, all of that really works a lot better than this here, which does feel a bit more, I don't want to say random, but just a lot more of feeling like it's just stalling for time on her end.
I mean, it's a fun sequence. I don't want to be too negative on it, because I think it's a very fine sequence. It's just that when I compare it directly to what was in the original movie, it's just, this is played more for dark laughs, whereas the original had an actual emotional climax for how the main character goes out. Here, on the other hand, she's taken into an ambulance afterwards. Obviously, all the police are around because, hey, she's turned back up and her kidnapper blew up in the closet. This can happen with homemade explosives sometimes, apparently. So she just kind of, like, halfway through the ambulance ride gets up and, like, sort of pushes her way out of the ambulance and runs back to the building, and sneaks in from the other side. And the reveal here is that she wasn't lying about the closet being the teleporter, because she gets inside, even though it's covered in blood and guts and stuff, and we just see, like, a bit of a light flash from behind the door. And sure enough, she wakes up on the ship like Neo coming out of the goo pod in the Matrix, right? Yeah. That's the visual that I'd compare it to. And for some reason, all of the aliens on this version are dressed like... They're dressed like a character from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids who's shrunk down, right? Yeah. And they found, like, a jumper, a sweater, and, like, cut an outfit out of it because it looks oversized, the threads.
Yeah, it feels like somebody got, like, a Disney Yeti costume and they just didn't put on the helmet. They didn't put on the head.
Yes, that's the vibe they've all got. And they're talking in the subtitles. They're speaking in a different language now. She says the thing about, of course I couldn't contact you. I didn't have my hair. And then they're throwing lines back and forth. And ultimately it's like, hey, how are the experiments going with the humans? And they're like, all of them failed. There's only 2 left running, but the chances of them winning are, basically zero.
But it doesn't result in anything as far as I'm aware, but they do specifically say, because of the 2 that are left, we want you to decide what happens next. Like, it's your decision. And the way it was phrased, it kind of made me think, like, these 2 people that are being experimented on were going to be, like, a thing. Because in Save the Green Planet, they show a list. Like, they show the faces of all the people. I expected us to get a pull-up and show, like, oh, it turns out these 2 people were also experimented on that we met across the movie or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But ultimately, it ends the same way the original does, in the sense that she decides to just, let's end all life on the planet. Obviously, in the original movie, they blew up the planet. Here, she kind of like pops a bubble on her Earth map, which seems to take away all the oxygen or something. Well, actually, no, that's not right, because the pets are still alive. But all the humans die.
It's literally just a human targeting thing. It's whatever's in their genes. She's like, and you're gone.
Yep. So the movie ends with like a montage of just all these shots of people lying around dead at all these different locations, workplaces, homes, so on and so on. So it's very stark, and the movie ends on the same flower with a bee on it that it started on. So we get like a sort of full circle to the visuals.
Yeah, and then like the ending credits, there's no music or anything like that. It's just nature sounds, as if to say, I mean, that to get the theme across, they hover multiple times over the ideas that bees are necessary to our ecosystem, and the fact that there's this hive colony collapse thing that's going on. Jesse Plemons specifically says we don't exactly know what caused it. We think it might be pesticides. We think it might be urban expansion, all these different things. But he's saying that it's the Andromedas. He's saying that it's their fault that all this is happening. And kind of the ending result here is, as we get on, once the humans are all gone, the way that it lingers on the nature sounds is to say, of course it was the humans. The humans were causing the problems the whole time. They were the ones who were damaging the planet. And so with them gone, nature will be able to rebloom and go back to whatever. So it's got an environmentalist message to it.
Yeah, there's definitely stuff in here about climate change and capitalism being the thing that's kind of at the center of everything. I think, the ending's obviously still solid, and it goes for a more stark version of it than the original did. The original focused more on the emotion of like, hey, this is this guy losing his planet, and we sort of like ended with clips of his like family life and kind of stuff like that. But I will say that I was kind of hoping it was going to take like some sort of a different swing. Like I almost was hoping more for it to turn into she wasn't an alien, which admittedly would kind of make it not an ace movie in a weird way, because it would mean there's no actual aliens. But like, I was almost thinking, though, is it maybe more powerful in this movie that's about like criticizing capitalism and the effect that it has on people? And because at one point in the dinner scene where she looks around and says, we paid you, reparations for what happened to your mother, but now that I'm looking around at this shithole, clearly we didn't pay you enough, not even like a fraction of what you should have. So I'm going to fix that. And she tries to make it about money again. And part of me was almost hoping in that moment, I really hope you are just a scumbag capitalist. I'm kind of hoping that's all you are, because I think it'll actually hit harder for the movie, to the point where when all the alien stuff's happening at the end, in the original, it was such a sort of whale surprise, and maybe it's just because I've seen that this wasn't a whale surprise, and instead I was disappointed it was just doing the same thing. But part of me was like, I feel like given the themes of this movie, it might have worked even better if you were just a capitalist.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping, maybe not that she was just a capitalist, but definitely keeping a more ambiguous ending. This idea of like, humanity still continues down its path of self-destruction. It still continues down. And we just see that, like, maybe Emma Stone doubles down and, like, contributes to that after everything that's happened, to just kind of imply, well, this is still the aliens killing us. This is still them doing the thing. But, like, is it because she's an alien, or is it because she's a capitalist? Is it that sort of thing? And I don't know, it would require a lot of other things to be changed along the way, but I agree that keeping it as being an alien kind of, it makes it just that much more visibly less than what the original was. By keeping it faithful in that last moment there, it kind of solidifies that the other one is just a little bit better in a lot of subtle ways.
Yeah, I think when we talked about the ending of the original film, I said that despite what happens at the end, I can still kind of read it as maybe not being real. Like, it's more just like in his dying moment, this is kind of what the main character assumes is going to happen, and that's why the ship is exactly what he said it was. It's why the hair, communication is exactly what he said it was. But for some reason in this version, I just don't get that feeling. It just doesn't feel like that. It feels...
There's too much time separating between the death and it happening.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe the whale thing they could have done is actually take him up to the ship and then not have him go until after he's interacted with them, and maybe let him see that it's all true or something for a minute, and maybe do something with that if you're going to still do the alien thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting, but admittedly, like, I'd be curious to see what the opinions are of people who didn't see the first film. Like, if people who have only seen this one, how does this ending work for you? Does it land? Does it feel like it's like paying off what the movie was setting up?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious.
Well, it's weird. It's weird because you got a 4-corner grid going on. Not only do you have the opinions of people who did or did not see the original, you also have the opinions of the people who tend to like these kind of films, these more art housey sort of films. Is this something that's still going to be able to have any sort of general audience appeal on top of that?
No, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I mean, I think the fun thing is, I come back to again is just how well made this movie is, and I was constantly entertained. I was constantly enjoying the way the scenes were playing out. You know, critiques that I have largely boil down to, some things that when I compare them to the original, I'm missing what I liked about those parts in the original, and I think the ending doing just kind of the same thing is maybe the biggest disappointment I have, just because I was kind of like wondering if there was going to be more of an interesting kind of take on it by the end. But hey,
yeah, I mean, that's, to be fair, the biggest difference is the tone that the movie leaves you with in the end, because that's what the ending shot of
this movie's a downer. This is a downer.
Well, I mean, we said the other one was a downer as well. Ignoring the ambiguity of did it or did it not happen, the fact that it ends on the TV screen that's showing his childhood moments after we've gotten to,
but it's
as
a
we
downer
said, care for him.
For this person's life, though. It's a downer for this person's, like, you know, personal tragedy, as opposed to this, which is like, hey, this is like the aftermath of like a worldwide purge of all human life,
right?
You know?
Yeah, no, it's a downer in the sense of like we couldn't overcome our worst impulses, and so it did that. But I also think that it's very specific shots that are chosen, because yes, we get some that are things like a boardroom meeting, stuff like that, but we also get stuff of like a classroom full of kids, a woman on her wedding day, like the better moments of humanity, and they still also end up dying. And I think there is a deeper message there of like, yeah, when all of this comes to a head, when humanity does end up hitting its breaking point here, it's not just the bad people. Like, it's not just going to be the people who didn't take action, the people who deserve this, that are going to be the ones in the mess of it. Innocent people, normal people are going to be there too. And that's the thing that is forgotten because it's so far out in anyone's minds.
Yeah, because we've been following crazy characters the whole movie. We've not been following the normal people and what they're living. So, David, what are you rating Bugonia out of 10?
Oh, this one's tough. I'm torn between a lot of the technical aspects and then just the vibe I left the movie with. And I think that is kind of the biggest tear in my head, is that I can recognize that a lot of this movie is better from a technical aspect, from a production standpoint, than Save the Green Planet. But I think when I was done with Save the Green Planet, I had just so much more of a deeper emotional response to it than I did with this one. I left this theater, I sat through more of the credits than I would have expected myself to sit through, just because I was trying to figure out, like, do I feel something here? Is this something where I feel kind of like this emotional impact that I know the previous movie left me with? And honestly, I got up and left in the middle of the credits when I came to the conclusion, like, not really. I appreciate what was said. I really do like the movie, but it just didn't leave me with that sort of, wow, I just watched something that actually like was really special there. It was very well done, but I just felt like it was lacking a bit of that soul that the original one had. So if I'm looking at it from that viewpoint, I can't rate it as highly as I did as Save the Green Planet, which for me got a 8 out of 10. So I think I'm going to put this one just beneath and say it's a 7.5. It's still very good, but I can't give it the same rating as the original.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm almost tempted to say that on technical merits, this might even get the same rating for me as the original, right? Because I think I give that an 8 as well, and I think I'd probably give this an 8. And but I do agree, maybe the biggest knock against it is like the lack of emotional response to it at the ending. The ending's such a sort of bleak downer versus kind of the emotional goodbye that the end of the Save the Green Planet is, that it's such a weird comparison, but yeah, the cinematography is absolutely better than this. The scene compositions and like some of those moments are just phenomenal. So it's tough, and and I do like the commentary in this. I like that it's talking about capitalism. I like that it's tackling these various subjects, and what's driven this guy to this is a kind of an analysis of what drives people to extreme ideas and extreme causes. And I said this in the ratings rundown, but it was a good point, so I'm going to repeat it. The cop character saying that he did something bad to this kid when they were younger, and he said the line, "I think it's because it made me feel powerful." He's become a cop. Like he's got a new power to abuse. Like he feels like this is a shortcut for him to feel like he's important. Again, just like the main character Teddy is trying to feel important. He's trying to feel like he's the one who's saving the world and all the rest of it. So, I love what it's playing with. But yeah, I do think the ending makes it weaker overall. But I think I'm still going to give it an 8 out of 10 because I still think the quality is by and large there. Yeah.
That's fair. To be clear, though, you did give Save the Green Planet an 8.5.
Oh, in that case, never mind. I've rated it lower. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it the 0.5.
Yep.
There you go. All right. Easy peasy. That is Bugonia, the first of 3 brand new releases back to back on the show. Next week, we have Predator Badlands. So, yeah, busy time at the movies this month for Ace.
I have not been to the theater since I moved into my newest location. And as I went to the theater, it's a different chain that I'm used to. They have so many membership plans that theoretically I could get reward points or save money or stuff like that. And I was like, if only I had known before I went, I might have been able to make it worth my while. But now I've only got 2 movies coming up. I can't make it worth my while yet.
Yeah, you got at least one in December as well.
Oh yeah. I'm sure over the long haul I could, but one of them's you pay $14.99 a month and you can see 1 movie per week, and I don't think I can make that quite worth it.
It's not bad though. It's not bad.
No.
By any stretch. So anywho, David's got his homework movie in just a minute, but
yes.
Yeah, so Predator Badlands is next week, and of course if you want to support the show, you can do that over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or via YouTube membership. Get the bonus monthly show we do called Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies of all time. Coming up soon, we've got a sci-fi movie in that category actually, which is the brand new 2025 War of the Worlds, so look forward to that if you're a patron or YouTube member. You also get access to Ratings Rundown, and of course check out Collector's Cut, which is the other show we do, where we go through movie franchises and director filmographies and stuff like that that are not sci-fi. So, we've been doing Cinema of May season, we did 70s thrillers, we've done like all the Superman movies earlier this year, that kind of stuff. So check out whatever else. But yes, before we go, David goes back and watches a movie from before his time on the show to eventually catch up and everything, so he's seen them all. So what was this week's homework movie, David?
Well, I thought about it and I was like, what other alien sort of movie can I do that is about potentially ending all human life? I did Roland Emmerich's Independence Day.
All right. I mean,
yeah. Here's the thing. I have seen this before. I've probably seen it like 2 or 3 times before this viewing. I should have remembered how long it was. It's such a long movie for no reason. I don't know. I remember liking it a lot more when I was like a kid, because this is one of those movies that I did see probably soon after it came to home video or DVD or whatever like that. Maybe it was on movie channels, but this is something that I've seen in that context before. And I liked, how Will Smith in general was. I liked the alien, like general design, I guess you could say. All the spaceships blowing up stuff, that all looked cool and whatever. But I think what my mind always skips over whenever I'm remembering that stuff is the filler, the in-between human stuff. That is just so godforsakenly boring.
Oh, you don't like Randy Quaid and his family? And
No, I don't. I look, Randy Quaid has a fine enough moment at the end of the movie. The president, great speech there as we go into the 3rd act. Like, everyone has a solid moment to play with, but moments do not justify over 2 hours of my life. Like, I need the whole movie to do something there. Beyond that, I mean, special effects are good for what they are. It does feel a little bit dated in places, but I do like that a lot of it is still practical.
Yes.
It really does just come down to keeping my attention. There's so many times where, despite it being this big bombastic movie, there were so many points where I was just like, I don't care. Please just move on to the next thing. We don't need to be spending time showing this tunnel explosion and the dog and all that stuff. Like, I don't care. So, yeah, I think this one, I don't think it's held up as good. It's still fine, though, so I'm going to say a 6.5.
That sounds fair enough to me. It was a big deal when I was 8, but
yes.
it has not necessarily aged amazingly the last time I watched it for the show.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Also, I mean, there's only so much uber patriotism I could take right now. Like, yeah, America needs this. Isn't that a line? One of the British people is just like, oh, thank God the Americans are going to do something. Now we've got a chance.
Yeah, I have no comment on such thing. But yes, I think people are just mad that Idris Elba did a better speech in Pacific Rim that finally toppled the Independence Day speech.
Yeah. I need to go back. I've only ever seen that once. I don't remember much from it.
It's not high art, but tonight we are canceling the apocalypse that is at our door. You know, there's a whole big speech he makes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, actually, I said that wrong. It's tonight we are tonight we are fighting the monsters that are at our door. Tonight we are canceling the apocalypse. That's the line.
That sounds better. That sounds stronger.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the show, everyone. That's been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction and computer ad salsa.